if you want to be successful, if you want to be a part of something that's bigger than you, you're not taking a chance in coming to Penn State. In fact, you're almost guaranteeing your success by coming to Penn State.
You walk down the street, you ask anybody, do you want to be successful? Yes. Do you want to be successful? Yes. Everybody says they do. But very few people are willing to do the things necessary moment after moment after moment after moment.
Do you want to be a part of something that's bigger than you? You know, I had the opportunity to play in-state at some great schools and with great traditions. Or I could have gone to a place where, yeah, you're going to redshirt because this room is deep. This room is deep.
In the round, fake to Ingram, and Collins going to go deep. It's Scott, touchdown, Penn State. What a beautifully conceived play.
Not everyone is ready to make the sacrifice to be great. Because greatness and success isn't accidental. It's because you are around people that operate at such a high standard that you're able to glean things and learn things that you can apply and put into your own toolbox. So that way, it's not a question of can I be successful? That's why it's not a chance. It's a guarantee because I'm around other people that have been there and done that. Take a chance? No. Success leaves clues. And the clues become unveiled when you come a part of this program and you realize that everything that is done has been strategically and intentionally designed to help you grow on the field and off the field. And it's not a question of can you be successful? The only question is how successful do you want to be?
Welcome into the weekly game preview brought to you by Wise Markets. I'm your host, Mitch Gerber. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll have James Franklin's weekly media availability following Wednesday night's practice here in Happy Valley. We'll also go one-on-one with Penn State wide receiver Malick Meiga, who picked up his first career touchdown reception against Rutgers last weekend. And then we'll have an exclusive with Penn State Director of Athletics Sandy Barbour, as well as head coach James Franklin here on the Wise Markets weekly game preview. Yesterday, head coach James Franklin signed a 10-year contract that will allow him to be the head coach of Penn State football for the next 10 years through 2031. And he said in a quote yesterday, quote, 9 weeks ago, the administration approached me about making a long-term investment in our football program. This promoted numerous conversations outlining the resources needed to be competitive at a level that matches the expectations and history of Penn State. What's most evident from those conversations is the importance of our student-athlete success both on and off the field. He continued with a quote there saying, quote, with support from President Barron, Sandy Barbour, and the Board of Trustees, we've been able to create a roadmap of the resources needed from the academic support, community outreach, name, image, and likeness, NIL, facility improvements, student-athlete housing, technology upgrades, recruiting, training table, and more. His renewed commitment to our student-athletes, community, and fans reinforce all of the reasons I've been proud to serve as your head football coach for the last 8 years and why my commitment to Penn State remains steadfast. End quote. That's head coach James Franklin, who was able to provide a quote in a press release, as we'll hear from him following tonight's practice about this topic and much more, as well as Penn State and Michigan State, which will kick off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday from Michigan Stadium, Spartan Stadium to be exact, on ABC. Or as always, you can listen to Steve Jones and company on the Penn State Sports Network. We'll also hear from the voice of the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones, coming up here momentarily as he'll preview this matchup for us, as well as chat with wide receiver Malick Meiga. How about that shot from inside Beaver Stadium earlier this year from the Sky Cam? Shout out to our producers. Make this happen. What a cool shot right there inside Beaver Stadium, as it's home to 107,000 plus on any given Saturday during the football season, which just wrapped up for Penn State at home against Rutgers. Good defeat for Penn State, their second shutout over a Big Ten opponent. The first time that's ever been done for Penn State in Big Ten history. 28-0 was that final score. Head coach James Franklin will address the media here momentarily at the podium that you see right there, just as he does every single Wednesday following practice. This will be our last Wise Markets game preview show of the season until the bowl game, which is a few weeks away, later this month or early January. To be determined exactly where that will be and when, but of course, follow Penn State football on all social media channels to be able to Make sure you stay up to date of where that location will be. Franklin agrees to a new 10-year contract. Since 2016, Penn State holds a .726 winning percentage with a record of 53-20. We're going to have all kinds of stats and nuggets for you guys throughout tonight's show, as we'll hear from head coach James Franklin on this topic and much more. I know he's been eager to be able to be a part of these conversations and provide some information to not only the media members here in State College, but as well as those nationally on this scale about this specific topic. Coach Franklin's name has been out there around the public for a number of weeks now, and finally he's able to put that to bed with a new 10-year contract that will allow him to be here through 2031. Head coach James Franklin will address the media here in just a few moments. As we heard from him earlier on those comments, there's some of the media members moving in now as they are eager and anticipating head coach James Franklin to address the media. He's walking over now, and as we await that, let's get one more quote from Sandy Barbour, who also had a quote earlier yesterday to be able to set the stage for this press conference. She said, "We are excited to have James Franklin lead our football program for a long time. We will continue our collective efforts to constantly improve in all aspects of our program. We have made and will need to continue to make significant investment in our football program because we believe we have a very bright future under James. With this contract, we are signaling our sustained commitment to being one of the premier programs in the history of college football." For now, let's toss it over to head coach James Franklin, who addresses the local media.
No, I told the team about a week ago and told the recruits probably about a week ago. It kind of has been a moving target for a long time, but I wanted to make sure that they heard first. And the Leadership Council, as you guys know, I've been talking to them the whole time.
Hey, James, what assurances were you given to make you feel confident enough to commit long term?
I understand this. I'd like to talk about Michigan State, but I get it. I've been putting this off for a while. There's the reason it was 9 weeks is because it wasn't really about me. That was kind of the first conversation was about me. And the conversation kind of led into these are all the things that we need to discuss, and conversations between Sandy and conversations between the chair of the board, Matt Schuyler. Obviously with the transition in the president's position, Dr. Barron has been phenomenal, but with the transition in that kind of played into it as well. But a lot of the stuff we talked about that was kind of in my quote, just making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can the other 364 days to compete with the people that we want to compete with.
James, how much of a relief was it for you and your family and just everybody to finally get that out of the way, so to speak? I know that may be coming across the wrong way, but just to not have to be dealing with us and everybody else talking.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that was the biggest thing. It really wasn't the process. The process kind of goes. The hard part was you guys keep asking and me not really be able to answer the questions because it was still lingering out there with some of the details. That was the biggest issue, and because you guys were talking about it and asking about it and writing about it, then there was other conversations that had to happen with recruits and so on and so forth. So I get it, I understand it, but that was really the biggest issue. You know, we want to sit in there and watch film and come up with the game plans and coach the kids. Typically the conversations that I did have with the administration were either early in the morning or late at night, except for my standard weekly meeting with Sandy and Scott. So that's where it becomes a little bit kind of an issue because I don't want it to be a distraction.
Hey James, what did you see as your goals and Penn State's goals regarding the buyouts?
To be honest with you, I wasn't really kind of involved in that. And it wasn't really a goal. I don't really have an answer for that, Mike, because I really didn't have kind of a goal going into it. I think what happens is there's kind of standard practice out there that the administration uses and that, the people that handle this contractual type stuff do, but I didn't really have a goal going into it.
James, we didn't see Rasheed Walker during our look at practice.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
There probably, Mike, to answer your question, there probably was a little bit about
things tied to timelines on facilities, but this was a model that they felt more comfortable with.
So
the
that would
university.
explain the steep and dropping off, so you get a second look a couple years down the road.
That would probably
Would that be fair?
that'd probably a better question for somebody else, but I don't feel like I don't know if I can necessarily answer that appropriately. Probably a better a question for somebody else. But yeah, I think that played into it.
Guys, we didn't see Rashid over with the offensive line today, nor Landon Tengwall. Is it still virus related with Walker? And did they practice today and we just missed it?
Yeah, as you know, I don't get into injuries usually. The guys that have some bumps and bruises, when you guys are here, we kind of take them in and then bring them out. They're doing their rehab or whatever it may be during that time, because we usually put guys in different colored shirts. So the guys know, look, they're going to take reps, but they can't have contact or whatever it may be. But we do still have some guys fighting through the virus. Some guys, as you know, got it early last week, and some guys ended up getting it late, which made the game problematic, and there's still a few more popping up. We're in a much better position we were last week, though.
James, you talked about how you have to compete 365 days a year. How does this contract keeping you here longer term impact that and help you guys continue to try to compete with the other Power 5 schools?
To be honest with you, that's what it's all about. That's what the whole contract is about. And I do think you guys have heard me talk for a long time about alignment. Alignment with the board, and specifically the chair of the board, the president of the university, the athletic director, the head coach. You guys have heard me. The guys have been covering Penn State for a long time, and specifically Penn State football. Have heard me talk about that for a long time. So that's what it's all about. It's about alignment and truly competing with the people that we expect to compete with. I also think it's important for you guys, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way. I hope it does not. But I don't really want to answer those questions. I'd love for you guys to do your own studies, because all the information is out there. It's pretty readily available. But again, I understand the question.
What do you love about this place, James?
Well, it's kind of the same thing that I've said before. This is home. I've coached all over the country in every major conference in the NFL as well. I had an opportunity to come back home, which is very unusual. But I'll be honest with you, for me, it's about people. And I'm committed to these kids and the staff and the people that I've gotten to know in the community. I'm very fortunate and blessed. I'm one of the few guys in this profession that my children have a chance to go to the same school from the time they're in elementary school all the way through high school and possibly college. That's very unusual in our profession. And I'm more than just a football coach. I want to be a good dad too, so all those things.
Well, college, you get the discount.
Yeah, if they come here, my daughter is interested in food science, so she's narrowed it down to Penn State and Clemson and Uncle Dabo, which I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that one. I don't know if that's going to go over well in the media, but we've become pretty close with Dabo and his family, and they do have a good food science program. So I may need some help recruiting Shola.
James, how far away do you think the program is from getting it where you want it to be, and how much closer does this contract get to getting you?
Yeah, again, I think that's obviously you guys talk about those things. I mean, the things that we have done, when you compare our conference, when you talk about New Year's Six bowl games, when you talk about New Year's Six wins, when you talk about beating some of the people in this conference that we've beaten that other people haven't, when you talk about a Big Ten championship and there hasn't been too many other people get Big Ten championships, I think we've done some good things. But obviously there's a next plateau that we have to get to, and I recognize that and am committed to doing whatever possible to help us get there with the help of a lot of other people that it takes, and that's back to the alignment.
We talked about physical changes around the program a lot. How much do you find the need for philosophical change to be part of the equation?
Always. I mean, Ben, I think that's a good question. It's all of it, right? Every aspect of it, we have to get a little bit better. And I think, one of the things we talk about a lot of time is when you're outside of the top 25 and haven't been in and you're trying to get in, that's a battle and it's hard. And then once you get into the top 25, that is challenging to get up into the top 10. And then once you get up into the top 10, that gap between the top 10 and the top 4 to 5 programs, that's more of a significant gap than any of those other stages we talked about. And then again, to get to that, that national championship. And it's all of it. It's recruiting, it's facilities, it's scheme, it's coaching, it's fundamentals, it's strength and conditioning, it's nutrition, because you can lift all you want. But if you don't have a training table, all those things, it all matters. Sleep, the dormitories, it's everything. If you get 3 or 4 more blue chip recruits a year, over 4 years, that adds up. And then once they get on campus, if you have everything that you need to develop them, those little margins that you're scratching and clawing for, they all add up. And I think you guys know we've been close. We've been really close in some games. We've been really close in terms of getting into the playoffs. Been ranked pretty high at times. We got to be able to sustain it, and that's what this is all about. And I'm glad we can finally talk about some of these things in more detail. I do think sometimes it's better coming from you guys than it is from me. And like I said, all the information is pretty available.
James, we're 3 weeks out from the early signing period. I know you've been reassuring these recruits along the way and their families, but first to be public and to be official this close, what does it do for you during the final stretch here?
Yeah, I think it helps. I think you guys know we got a bunch of commits early on and kind of held on to them. And for us, there's maybe a little wiggle room left, but it's really just about getting the guys that we got committed right now signed, maybe 1 or 2 others. So obviously, I think the recruits and their families, again, they've been informed the whole time, whether it's been individual phone calls with recruits and parents, whether it's been group Zoom calls, whether it's been one-on-one meetings in person on campus. Those things have happened. But obviously when it comes out public and there's no more speculation, it helps. It's kind of the cherry on top, final piece.
What would a win on the road at Michigan State to end the regular season do for this team headed into the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, ending the season with a win on the road against Michigan State, a team that's had a good season. Obviously that momentum taking us into the bowl game, then finding a way to get a win there going into the offseason, I think is important. I think, somebody asked me a question maybe last week about momentum and how a season ends. Does it matter? I think it all matters. Everything matters. I truly believe that. So yeah, going on the road, getting a win in our conference is always challenging. And obviously against an opponent like Michigan State that's had a great year with a big-time running back that's getting a Heisman, conversation, probably going to get invitation. That's a challenge.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ray.
That's head coach James Franklin as he addresses the local media following Wednesday's practice here in State College. As we now welcome in redshirt freshman wide receiver Meiga. Malick, let's start right there. Coach Franklin just answered what it would mean to pick up a victory to end the regular season. What would it mean from a player's perspective?
Hey, it definitely will be great because we always working to be 1-0 every week, and I feel like that would be giving us a great momentum to go to the bowl game. So it definitely mean a lot to be 1-0 next week.
Little French connection on the touchdown. Veilleux to Meiga, 67 yards. Take me through the play. How did you get so wide open?
Hey, it was a great play calling. I had a little over route, and my boy Christian had to step up last week, so he definitely did. He definitely did step up, and I just had an over route in the corner. He just went with Parker Washington. Parker Washington is a big threat, so they just blew up the coverage, and I was wide open of the seam. Christian threw that ball, and I was just running over there. I was just happy. Happy for the moment.
You would have loved the Jack Ham part of it because I'm starting to call the play. Jack goes, "Oh, he's open."
I mean, last Saturday was essentially Canada Day for Penn State football, as well as you get one more look at the replay right here. And Christian, I talked to him after the game, and he had a big smile on his face when I asked him about your conversation on the sideline after between the two of you. What did he say to you?
Hey, it was just the beginning. It's the beginning of something big, so we just excited for this moment and plenty more to come.
Well, think about it. Veyu, 3 touchdowns. He gets a touchdown. Lucchetta had 2 tackles for losses. Theo Johnson had 2 catches a day. And Jonathan Sutherland had an interception. Oh, Canada, man.
Not a bad day.
Not a bad day at all.
Not a bad day at all. What brought you down here, for example? I mean, look, it's a different game down here. Now, you came down here and played, obviously. But what made you say yes to Penn State?
Hey, Penn State was always a great fit for me. I love the coach. I love the family atmosphere that we have over here. I was talking to Jesse Lucchetta. That's pretty much my biggest mentor down here, I say, because he speaks French too. That's my first language. So it was big to have somebody that speaks French on the campus, and it was pretty good. And then the coaching staff, crazy. The atmosphere, crazy. It's really a family, and that's really what I like because I'm really a family man. I love my mom, I love my brother, love everybody back home. So it's pretty good to have a family down here too.
What does make the family aspect of Penn State football different than other places you looked at?
I say, hey, just the vibe, everybody together. We go to dinner together, always smiling. We having fun. We play video games together, off the field too. So everything pretty cool for us.
What's your video game?
I used to play. I'm pretty used to play FIFA.
FIFA.
That's my game right there.
Great. Now he's speaking French to me. Oh, okay. I've got to ask you, in that receiver room, Jahan Dotson, Parker Washington, Keandre Lambert-Smith, how much have you been able to learn from those other guys as a young player coming through the system yourself?
I've been learning a lot ever since I came on campus. It was really different for me since I'm from Canada. We have motions and all that before the plays. Oh. So yeah, coming down here, everything is faster, everything is quicker, and learning from guys like Keandre Lambert, Parker Washington, Jahan Dotson, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Every day after practice, we stay a couple minutes, get some jug work, get some release work, everything like that. So it definitely helped me a lot.
So in other words, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't start 10 yards back and sprint?
A little bit different.
They won't let me do that here? What kind of organization is this?
So from the offensive side, you get to learn from people like Jahan Dotson and so on and so forth. But on the defensive side of the football, you get to go up against one of the best defenses in the entire country. Where do you think you've taken the biggest strides as it relates to reading a defense?
It's pretty. I say my coverage recognition right now is pretty big right now. Before the play, you just look at the safety, the cornerback. You look at the triangle with the apex defender. We learned a lot from Coach Stubblefield in the coverage recognition, so it's been pretty good. I got a lot better, but there's still more to do.
On the way, the English part of it, obviously you're fluent in French. That's your primary language. What did it take for you along the way to learn English? When did you start to feel fluent in it? At what age?
It's still a little hard for me to speak English. I can't even lie.
You got to be kidding me. You're phenomenal. Nobody could tell.
You are.
No, I mean, I only asked the question because I know. But
sometimes I need to think about it. Sometimes I need to think about it. But I really started getting fluent once I stepped on campus and just talking English every day. It really got better, so I'm still looking to get better.
I believe when you were doing your weekly media availability, you got a French question, correct?
Sir,
what was the question?
Do you
remember?
I think it was like, how do I learn from Parker,
That's cool,
and Jahan? I said pretty much the same answer. I said French.
Oh, great, like an idiot. I asked mine in English.
That's wide receiver Malick Meiga joining us here on the Wise Markets Game Preview. Malick, good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Once again, Penn State will take on Michigan State at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC from Spartan Stadium. That's a 3:30 p.m. kick, November 27th, the final regular season game of the 2021 season. Get a live look right there at Beaver Stadium. Not live, rather. That's the Scott game from a few weeks back. Beautiful Beaver Stadium that seats 107,000 plus on any given Saturday. Penn State will not be able to play anymore inside there this 2021 regular season as it concluded with a 28-0 victory, their second shutout over a Big Ten opponent this season, which was obviously great and tremendous for Penn State's defense, Penn State's offense, Penn State's special teams aspect of things. We are now going to welcome in head coach James Franklin, as well as director of athletics Sandy Barbour, who just finished up. We'll have Coach Franklin right there. We'll have Sandy Barbour right here as we welcome him into the Wise Markets game preview. Coach, you just wrapped up your weekly media availability, obviously with a lot of questions regarding the 10-year contract. How does that, in your opinion, the contract, really establish the future of Penn State football?
Well, it's stability, right? Which everybody's looking for. Parents want to be able to send their son somewhere that they know they're going to be developed and cared for, and there's going to be consistency there. And obviously in college football, there's not a whole lot of that anymore. So having a conversation and having a decision that's been made, I think is helpful. Obviously for our current players, which is very, very important, but also for the future recruits as well.
Sandy, how about from your perspective?
Well, we certainly wanted to send a couple of signals as an institution, from Dr. Barron to the board, the chair of the board, myself obviously as the leader of athletics, about how we feel about James and his leadership of this football program, and how we feel about he and his family as members of this community. And then also, as James was just saying, about our football program, how important it is to us, how committed we are to it, to have the success that we know Coach Franklin wants, I want, and we know all of our fans do. So it was really about signaling that commitment, and that we're all going to be doing this together for a long time.
Coach, one of the words that Sandy's you've used has been sustained success throughout the press release and obviously during your weekly media availability. But how does this help the sustained success aspect of this football program?
Well, I think we recognize, over our 8 years, we've done some good things. You talk about New Year's 6 bowl games. You talk about New Year's 6 wins. You talk about being ranked as high as number 2 in the country. You're talking about winning Big Ten championship, and there hasn't been a whole lot of teams in our conference that have been able to do that. But there's things that we still need to do. Consistency is a big part of it for us, not only throughout the 10 years, but also throughout a season. This is a tough conference, especially our side of the conference. So being able to do it week in and week out, all off season, to put our players in the best position to be successful and to be able to make our lettermen, our alumni, our fans, really proud of what we're doing, and ultimately, have a chance to play for it all.
Sandy, the big focus of this obviously is the Penn State football program, but it goes far beyond that. This impacts the community, Happy Valley, and so on and so forth. From how does it impact that overall?
Well, let's think about the place of Penn State football in this community in terms of the fabric of everyone who lives here. Think about a Saturday in Happy Valley in the fall. We know that there's economic impact. There's certainly emotional impact, and that plays into everything we do. That plays into how we plan for success. That plays into how important that is, and the kinds of resources and the kind of care and attention that we pay to it from a community standpoint. And then obviously, as James has already mentioned, really at the core of all of this are our student athletes, and that's where I think James and his staff have had such an incredible impact in terms of how they've mentored, how they've coached, both on the football field and off, and obviously that played a huge role in our desire or our estimation, calculation of what a great leader he is.
Coach, you talked about this being a 364-day thing, 365 full year-round process. How does this contract really implement the future when it comes to every single day executing at a high level?
Well, with Sandy's support and President Barron, who's been phenomenal, we're going to miss him terribly, but also the board. There's still some things that we need to improve on and we need to work on. And that's really every program in the country. And we've made tremendous strides since I've been here, but there's still some things that we can do. So, looking at whether it's facilities, whether it's staffing, whether it's the dormitories, whatever it may be, there's a lot of things to sit and talk about to allow us to fight for that small margin, right? We've been close. So at this stage, we are fighting for small margins to try to take that next step, as a program, whether that is the playoffs, an opportunity to compete for national championships. And that's really going to take place the other 364 days a year to allow us to be successful on Saturday.
it all matters, and we need to make sure that we're competing in every single one of those aspects.
Sandy, you talked about from the leadership aspect, Coach Franklin, and what he's done here at Penn State obviously is very clear. From a leadership standpoint, how have you seen him grow over the course of his time here?
That's been a lot of fun because we've grown together in this Penn State community, in this Penn State situation, and I think that James has certainly, he was always very focused on student athletes, but I think there's a lot of growth in how that takes place, and just like college football programs and college football as an industry is evolving, and whether there were gaps that we had to continue to make up from where it was 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago or 2 seasons ago, it's also always evolving. So one of the things I love about our relationship is we're always talking about what's next and what's required to not just keep up, because I don't think we want to just keep up, but we want to make sure we're doing everything we can from a Penn State perspective. This is about Penn State and what we have to do to be successful and chase that national championship that we all want. And I think that's where James has continued to evolve in how do we approach that. And how do we, in a Penn State way, make sure that we're doing all those things that it takes to get us where we all want to go.
Sandy, Coach, go ahead.
The other thing I was just going to say, Mitch, and I don't think this has probably been talked about enough, but with President Barron leaving, President Barron came to Penn State at a very, very important time and a challenging time, and he stepped up in every way possible for this university. Sandy came at a similar time. I came at a similar time. So we have a bond, that we've been through those experiences together. We're gonna miss President Barron. He's done an unbelievable job for the university and the community as well. But I also think that's allowed me and Sandy to grow, through all the challenges, the adversity, the success, all of it at a time that it was needed. So I'm very appreciative of that.
What makes that trust and that bond so tight between the two of you that you have been able to have those tough conversations about what needs to happen to get to that national championship?
I think part of it is who we are. Each individually, we're different, but together we're something. And I think part of it is everything that we've been through. There are tough conversations. There are great conversations. There are easy conversations. I wish there were more of those. And that's not James's or my fault. It's just, but it's when you spend 8 years together, 7.5 years, whatever it is now, and you go through some of the challenges that we've been through. We've not been through them alone. There have been lots of others around us, including Dr. Barron, who James is absolutely right. We're gonna miss a lot. I'm excited about new leadership as well, and I'm sure that's going to be terrific as chosen by our board. But Eric's a proven commodity, and he's proven to support what we're trying to do here. And I just think it's those shared experiences that always, if you're paying attention and if your eyes are open and if you have a growth mindset, that's going to make you better, and it's going to create trust,
both personally and professionally.
Absolutely. Well, the future is certainly bright here at Penn State University under the leadership of Sandy Barbour and head coach James Franklin. Happy Thanksgiving to the both of you as well.
You as well, and everybody else out there.
Penn State will take on Michigan State at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Until then, have a great Thanksgiving and stay safe.
This is the day. We will know a whole lot by the time the dust settles.
Welcome back to Happy Valley.
Everything matters. That's where we win right here. Not on the field.
But where we want to be at the end of the season starts with our mentality and our attention to detail today.